You tread where Jesus trod. You see where Jesus died and was buried, and the tomb from which he rose, and the impression it makes upon one.
In 2022, something shifted beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. What started as routine floor repairs uncovered a sealed world beneath Jesus' tomb, untouched for nearly 2,000 years. Burial benches, linen fibers, and a hidden chamber with no record in history. What archaeologists found wasn't restoration material. It was real, raw, ancient, and intact. And if what's buried here is true, it doesn't just confirm history, it threatens to rewrite it. This discovery wasn't just sacred, it was dangerous. Hidden discovery beneath the tomb. In 2022, a team of structural engineers working inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre noticed something strange. The marble tiles surrounding the edicule, the shrine believed to enclose the tomb of Jesus Christ, were beginning to sink in irregular patterns. What was meant to be a routine floor stabilization turned into something far more mysterious. To investigate, the team used ground-penetrating radar, GPR. The scans revealed dips, rises, and voids under the surface, a sign that the rock beneath wasn't flat, solid bedrock as expected. Beneath centuries of restoration and religious veneration, something had remained hidden. The decision was made to lift the marble floor. What they found shocked even veteran archaeologists: dense, compacted ancient soil, not modern repair mortar. It wasn't fill from previous renovations. It hadn't been touched by human hands in nearly 2,000 years. This was the first glimpse into untouched stratigraphy beneath the holiest site in Christianity. The immediate reaction was a mix of awe and caution. Conservation specialists quickly informed the 3 custodial churches that jointly managed the site: the Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Armenian Apostolic. Access was tightened almost instantly, not because of scandal, but because of what the implications might mean for both faith and history.
We were looking for a crack. We found a buried chapter.
What began as a standard repair revealed the possibility that something deeper, something real, ancient, and undisturbed, had been waiting beneath the edicule all along. And this was just the beginning. As excavation continued, a buried timeline began to emerge, each layer a page of a story long thought lost. A timeline written in stone. The uppermost layer removed was unsurprising: cracked 20th century mortar applied during routine maintenance throughout the last 100 years. But just below it, archaeologists uncovered slabs that matched the layout of the 4th century Byzantine church, built under the direction of Emperor Constantine. A confirmation that this site had been treated as sacred for over 1,600 years. Beneath that came a rough, broken Roman debris layer. This matched the historical period following the Bar Kokhba revolt in the 2nd century CE, when Emperor Hadrian ordered major reconstruction of Jerusalem. During this time, the city was renamed Aelia Capitolina, and much of the Jewish topography was intentionally buried or altered. What surprised researchers was the layer beneath Hadrian's fill. It wasn't just rubble, it was fine quarry sediment, compacted with intention and laced with stone dust and chips that didn't match Roman-era fill practices. It suggested earlier activity and intentional concealment of what lay below. Then came the first material evidence: fragments of pottery, organic sediment, and a unique soil profile that was dated to before 70 CE, the year the Second Temple was destroyed. This pushed the timeline back even further than previously believed.
Each layer didn't just speak of time. It contradicted what we thought time had buried.
This wasn't a patchwork of renovations. It was a vertical history of Jerusalem itself, from modern times to Constantine to Hadrian and beyond. And each new depth pulled the story closer to the 1st century, when Jesus was said to have been buried in this very place. The buried garden soil. As excavators cleared the Roman debris layer, the nature of the soil suddenly changed. Beneath centuries of rubble and compacted sediment was a dark, rich layer of earth, the kind of soil used for cultivation, not quarrying. It was soft, fertile, and entirely out of place beneath a stone shrine that had long been thought to sit above an ancient limestone quarry. To verify its origin, the team conducted pollen analysis. What they found was astonishing: microscopic traces of olive and grape pollen, plants historically grown in 1st century Jerusalem for food, oil, and wine. These were not weeds or wild growth. They were domesticated species, cultivated by human hands, a deliberate garden. The texture and layering of the soil confirmed it wasn't naturally deposited by wind or erosion. It had been placed here with intent. The sediment's composition, fine and consistent, indicated it had been worked and maintained, likely as part of a household or communal garden. And the layout of the bedrock beneath it revealed shallow carved lines, resembling planting beds, not natural erosion. This discovery directly paralleled the Gospel of John, which states that Jesus' tomb was located in a garden. For generations, scholars interpreted this as symbolic language, a theological metaphor for rebirth. But here, embedded in stone and soil, was physical evidence of that garden's existence, and possibly its exact location. We expected bedrock, we found cultivated memory. With this revelation, the excavation ceased to be merely archaeological. It became deeply human. These were not just ruins or relics. They were the marks of daily life, preserved beneath centuries of silence. And under this garden soil lay something even more deliberate: cut stone. First-century burial benches revealed. The next layer revealed a ledge, finely cut into the bedrock, not a geological feature, but unmistakably a burial bench. Its flat surface, angle, and proportions exactly matched those seen in first-century Jewish tombs found throughout Jerusalem and Judea. The dimensions weren't coincidental. They followed ritual requirements of the time. As excavation widened, 2 more benches appeared, bringing the total to 3, arranged side by side with striking uniformity. This wasn't a natural cave or random burial site. It was a planned, multi-person chamber, likely meant for a family. The precision of their alignment and symmetry spoke of intention, not improvisation. Tool mark analysis revealed chisel impressions consistent with those from 30 BCE to 70 CE, the final decades of Jewish autonomy before the Roman siege. These weren't modern restorations or symbolic recreations. They were authentic funerary installations, carved with the tools and methods of the period. No later modifications were detected. No Christian symbols had been etched over them. No plaster or tile hinted at medieval alterations. They had remained sealed and unseen for centuries, protected by the very structures meant to commemorate them. These benches weren't built to be seen. They were made for someone to rest. With each layer, the evidence pulled deeper into the past and closer to a very specific time frame, a tomb cut, used and sealed before the fall of Jerusalem. And it wasn't finished. To the east, more remained buried, hidden beneath rubble, and waiting. Burial niche, Koch, discovery. Just beyond the last bench, the team uncovered what looked like a narrow shaft cut into the eastern wall of the tomb. It was a koch, a vertical burial niche commonly used in first-century Jewish tombs to house wrapped bodies after ritual washing. These shafts were integral to Jewish burial tradition, carved deep enough to enclose a body with minimal exposure. This one was intact, not crumbled, not symbolic, a fully functional burial structure. It aligned with the benches in style, proportion, and technique. The koch's presence alongside the benches confirmed that this was not a symbolic tomb built later to represent Jesus' burial. It was an actual operational burial chamber, sealed and untouched. Then came a detail that raised more questions. On the western wall, a partially carved niche was discovered. Incomplete, the chiseling abruptly stopped. It looked as if the work had been interrupted. Whether by political events, sudden death, or siege, something caused the builders to leave it unfinished. Lab analysis of the chamber's surfaces found no traces of later plastering, recarving, or reinforcement. The chamber had not been modified during the Byzantine or Crusader periods. It had been cut, used briefly, then sealed, and forgotten. A half-finished grave in a city under siege. It speaks louder than scripture. This discovery raised an even more pressing question. Was someone actually buried here? If so, the next answer might lie not in the stone, but in the smallest of remains.
Traces of burial linen.
Dust samples were taken from the grooves between the benches and koch. What they revealed would turn this from architectural mystery to human story. Textile fibers, fine, decayed, and barely visible, were extracted and placed under microscopic analysis. They weren't mineral or plant. They were woven linen, still structured after 2,000 years. The weave was consistent with first-century Jewish burial cloth, specifically plain weave, simple but strong, used for shrouds. In two separate corners of the chamber, more fibers were found. The distribution matched the layout of a wrapped body placed on the bench. A head at one end, legs at the other. One linen fragment held trace residues of myrrh and spikenard, both documented burial spices used during the Second Temple period, referenced in both Jewish and early Christian burial rites. This aligned perfectly with burial preparations described in the Gospels. The body is gone, but its wrapping stayed, and that is all time left behind. For the first time, the chamber wasn't just a tomb, it was a used tomb, and the evidence was no longer abstract, it was personal. Fibers from a body that once lay here, untouched, preserved by time and stone. Hidden chamber beneath the limestone slab. Just when investigators believed they'd uncovered all the tomb's secrets, the GPR scans picked up a rectangular void, directly beneath the traditional limestone slab, venerated as the site of Jesus' resurrection. This void did not appear on any historic blueprints or religious site maps. It was entirely undocumented. Accessing it wasn't easy, but through a natural fissure in the bedrock, a micro camera was inserted. What it recorded was astonishing. A sealed chamber, coated in centuries of dust, yet intact. No signs of entry, no structural collapse. The room had been completely undisturbed, a perfect time capsule sealed since antiquity. Inside, a single limestone bench stood along the far wall, carved, like those above, in the first-century Jewish style. There were no frescoes, no crosses, no Christian symbols, only smooth-cut rock and silence. On the bench and floor, the team observed fine particulate sediment and subtle impressions. When a microsuction probe collected samples, they retrieved more fibers, linen again, matching the weave and residue found in the upper chamber. First century, embedded with traces of burial ointments. It wasn't a myth, it wasn't metaphor, it was a sealed memory, waiting beneath stone. The presence of this chamber raises critical questions. Why was it sealed? Who was laid here? And why has it remained hidden, even as millions have worshipped directly above it for centuries? Internal features align with first-century ritual. Within this hidden chamber, subtle yet powerful clues painted a picture of early Jewish burial ritual. Most striking was the empty niche, cut cleanly into the wall, with a discolored imprint, the only mark left behind by what once rested there. Mineral analysis revealed layered crust formations, consistent with organic material decomposing in an undisturbed, sealed environment. There were no tool marks suggesting re-entry, no signs of looting, no plaster, no religious iconography, not even the faintest etching of a cross. This is significant. Most tombs that became sites of pilgrimage were later modified, adorned with Christian symbols, altered by crusaders, monks, or priests. This one wasn't. Its layout, proportions, and minimalist design aligned with what archaeologists recognize from burials between 30 BCE and 70 CE.
The absence of symbols spoke louder than any inscription.
Every detail, from the position of the bench to the silent mineral-coated niche, confirmed this space followed first-century burial practices, untouched by later reinterpretations. It was not a shrine built to represent something, it was something real, preserved by the very history that tried to build over it. Scholarly and religious reactions. As news of the discovery began to leak through academic channels and internal church networks, reactions were immediate and divided. Some of the world's top archaeologists urged caution. They emphasized that while the evidence was compelling, the tomb could have belonged to any elite first-century Jewish family. Association with Jesus of Nazareth remained speculative, they warned, and such links had to be handled with care. Inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, tension grew. The three religious custodians, Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Armenian Apostolic, met behind closed doors. Their concern wasn't about whether the findings were real. It was about how they would be interpreted, and how quickly the story could spiral into sensationalism. They agreed to limit access and freeze any further exploration. Meanwhile, early Christian historians saw troubling parallels. The chamber's configuration, a tomb in a garden outside the city walls with benches, linen, and no Christian iconography, mirrored details from the Gospels long assumed to be metaphor. Now, they were staring at physical counterparts to those words. Material scientists, independent of religious authority, supported the dating. Mineral crusts, sediment layering, and textile decay all pointed to a sealed environment from the 1st century CE. No later construction or contamination was found. Then the public found out. Within days, photos and reports leaked. Social media lit up. Documentaries were pitched. Pilgrims arrived. So did protesters. Debates exploded over faith, science, authenticity, and control. This is no longer about archaeology, it's about belief and who gets to define it. The site had been quiet for 2,000 years. Now it had become a battleground of narratives.
Implications and hidden history revealed.
Beyond the politics and theology, the data tells its own story. And it's rewriting what we thought we knew about the city of Jerusalem. The burial chamber lies beneath not just a shrine, but a stratigraphic sequence that stretches from modern times to the 1st century CE. Each layer confirms that this ground has been sacred, used, buried, and built upon, uninterrupted. Crucially, the location of the tomb lines up with early city maps that show it just outside the 1st century walls, in accordance with Jewish burial laws. The olive and grape pollen, buried garden soil, and carved planting beds match the Gospel's mention of a garden near the place of crucifixion. Then there's the human trace, the linen fibers, the burial ointment, the niche with a vanished imprint, all signs that someone was laid to rest here, in the exact manner described in Jewish and early Christian texts. The implications are enormous. If confirmed, this tomb would predate Constantine's church, challenge traditional timelines, and force scholars to reevaluate how early Christians preserved and remembered sacred space. It was never lost, just buried, and maybe that changes everything. In the end, the tomb beneath the tomb doesn't just hold history. It questions it, confronts it, and asks, what else have we been standing on, never thinking to dig? This isn't just an archaeological find, it's a revelation buried in stone. Beneath layers of empire, worship, and silence lies a chamber that speaks louder than scripture. It challenges timelines, rattles assumptions, and puts faith and fact on a collision course. What began as a maintenance task now demands answers from history, theology, and belief. If this tomb is what the evidence suggests, then beneath Jesus' tomb, we haven't just found the past. We've unearthed something far more unsettling.